It's better. Thank you. The April 14th, 2015 regular meeting of the Mentor Exempted Village Board of Education is called to order. This meeting is being held in accordance with Section 3313.15 of the Ohio Revised Code. Mr. Wilson, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Briner?
Here.
Ms. Jisling?
Present.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Shaw? Mr. Tuttle?
Here. Mr. Shaw will be excused from this evening's meeting. He's in Washington, D.C. Very important meeting. Okay. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Miller?
Good evening. At this time, I would ask for a moment of silence in memory of one of our employees, Pamela Bates, school bus operator, who passed away earlier this month. I'd also ask that you'd keep the individuals involved in today's bus accident in your thoughts and prayers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Please join. We already did that. I would like to welcome everyone to the April 14th regular meeting of the Mentor Exempted Village Board of Education. Prior to this evening, each board member has received for their review and consideration the agenda and materials associated with each agenda item for the board's approval via the district's paperless Board of Education agenda system, Board Docs. The public can access the agenda through the school district's website. The agenda is available through the district's website for public viewing the Sunday prior to the board meeting. Board members have the opportunity to call the superintendent and chief financial officer for information concerning agenda items and to request, if needed, additional information. There are two places on the agenda when the board entertains comments from the community. The first hearing of the public is dedicated to those who wish to address the board on agenda items only. The second hearing of the public is dedicated to those who wish to address the board on any subject, whether it is an item on the agenda or another issue. When addressing the board, please state your name. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please address questions to the president. This meeting is being televised on a delayed basis and will be shown on Time Warner Cable Channel 96.96 in Mentor and Channel 96.22 in Mentor on the Lake. The meeting can also be found on our YouTube channel, Cardinal TV, Mentor, Ohio. Please place your mobile telephones on silent mode during the meeting. First on the agenda, approval of the minutes.
Yes, we previously distributed the minutes of March 10, 2015 regular meeting and asked that they be approved.
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes. Next on the agenda, hearing of the public on agenda items only. Anyone? Hearing none. Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Tuttle. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. I am recommending approval of consent agenda items 5A1 through 5A4.
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. This is one of our favorite board meetings of the year. We get to recognize a lot of our students for academics, for things they do inside the classroom, for extracurriculars, and for co-curriculars. So we're excited that you're all here. I'm always proud and very impressed when I hear about Mentor students, where they reach, how high they excel with their hard work and with their commitment. These students are great ambassadors for the district throughout the Mentor community and beyond. Behind great students, we know there are great parents and grandparents, and many of you are here tonight, so we welcome you. Also, our teachers as well have a lot to do with the success of the kids that you're going to see recognized tonight. We're going to start with tonight a presentation by Jordan Zimmerman, and Jordan is a student at CARES. Jordan? Jordan is escorted by Buster and Mrs. LaPaglia.
Hi, my name is Jordan and I'm 20 years old. You may be wondering why I'm using an iPad to talk to. Hi, my name is Jordan and I'm 20 years old. You may be wondering why I'm using an iPad to talk to you today, so I will tell you. I can talk. I can even have a conversation with you. But I find speaking very difficult, especially when I'm upset or overstimulated. So for over a year now, I have been using an app on my iPad a lot of the time. When I speak with my mouth, it isn't just my voice box and my mouth. First, I have to think of a word and figure out if I even know what that word means. Then I have to figure out how to pronounce the word so everyone can understand me. Next, I have to modulate my voice to the appropriate volume and tone so that it isn't too loud or too quiet. Even though this is very difficult for me, it is probably the easiest step. Lastly, I've got to talk and make sentences. I'm sure you have to do all of these things too. Because my brain moves much faster than my mouth, I have to constantly fight myself to do them. It is very frustrating. I also miss a lot of what I want to say, and sometimes I say different things than what I mean or want to say. When people talk to me, my brain sort of works in the opposite way. Instead of moving fast, sometimes it moves slow. Words enter my ears, but sometimes it takes extra time for me to process the meaning. I know some of you are probably wondering if I really wrote this speech. If you've heard any of my speeches before, you're probably wondering if I wrote those too. When I'm finished, I want you to ask me questions. I want you to understand that these are my own thoughts and words. I write my speeches independently. I guarantee it wasn't someone with autism who told you this wasn't possible. I think this is a great example of knowing many things, but not having a lot of people believing in possibilities. It's time that we get everyone to start believing in these possibilities. I've always loved school, but my time in school has been very frustrating, especially my middle school and high school years. I think this is partly because I started struggling more and partly because some educators lost hope for my future. I have been in 5 alternative schools, and I've had many changes of placements. All of these transitions were very hard for me. Through all of this, I was also very secluded from my peers, which was very frustrating for me. I have internal fights with my body on a daily basis. I bite my fingers when my hands feel tense. I bang my head against the wall when my body is craving input. If I don't do these things, my whole body actually hurts. I can be aggressive, but it is never intentional. I am always sorry afterwards. My brain always instructs me to do one thing, but for some reason my body does something else. If I could control these things, then I would. My iPad has given me the freedom and ability to express myself in these situations. It has allowed me to share things that are bothering me and some of the reasons why I do certain things, which were stuck inside me before. Without the use of this technology, I would still be a very intelligent person, but I think I would just be 100% more miserable because people might not understand that my behavior doesn't mean I'm not smart. I decided what I wanted to do early in life. I want to go to college and become a special education teacher. I want to assist kids who are very intelligent internally, but have to be taught how to show their true potential. Although I know what I want to do, in the past my excitement has typically been replaced by feelings of sadness as I have been told by some people not to aspire to be a teacher. I have had teachers tell me that I will never need a cover letter or a resume. For many years, special education was a place where teachers had very low expectations for my future success. I questioned this system telling me that I shouldn't or can't be successful. I want to help change this. I don't live in Mentor, and before this past summer, I never attended Mentor public schools. All I really knew about Mentor schools was that they were over an hour away and their football team played my school's football team. In 2014, I went to the CARES summer program, and then this school year, I started coming to CARES 3 days each week from 8:30 to 11 o'clock. The rest of the week I attend Hudson High School. Since I have come to Mentor, I have had the opportunity to learn a lot about the programs Mentor has for students with and without disabilities. I think opening CARES was a great idea. Even though students aren't in the school that they would be at if they didn't have more individualized needs, they are still staying in their own community, where they belong. At CARES we are like a family, and if you haven't come to see the amazing things that happen, you should visit. I have also had the chance to meet a lot of the very nice people that work here in Mentor and visit some of the other schools. I have seen the hub at Mentor High School, and I even drew a penguin on the wall in the Catalyst classroom at Ridge Middle School.
That's okay with them.
But here at therapy dog at CARES, but he's basically my dog. Every morning that I'm at CARES, he greets me, and then when I'm ready, we do attendance together. He knows when I'm upset or when other students are upset, and he helps to calm us down. I have a certain noise that I make to call him, and no matter where he is in the building, if he hears me, he'll come. On February 23rd, some of my friends from Mrs. Majak's class and I had the opportunity to go to Disney World in Orlando, Florida. I want to thank you all for allowing this to happen. It was seriously the best trip. Before we went to Disney, we designed different shirts for each day, created autograph books, and learned about each ride at every park. We were there for 5 nights, and we went to all 4 parks. We ate breakfast with Disney characters, rode most of the rides, and stayed in the parks until they closed. I also ding-dong ditched random people's rooms at our hotel. There are so many individuals everywhere who are waiting for their chance to be included with their school community and the bigger part of society, and I think this trip is another great example of how it can be done. I have a challenge for you. I want to encourage you and all of the teachers in Mentor to include and teach students who may seem unintelligent, but really do deserve the chance to learn. They all have dreams for their future too. They may hit their head because they are frustrated, or because if they don't, their head will actually hurt. This isn't a sign of being stupid or not wanting to learn. I want to encourage you to get to know each student for who they are on the inside, because I guarantee that they have so many more abilities than what you may see. Do you accept my challenge? Just like everyone, I have a lot of dreams for my future, but at the beginning of this year, I would have never thought I would be presenting to a Board of Education. I believe in creating a more inclusive society, so it really means a lot to me that you asked me to speak here tonight. Thank you for trying to get to know me, not because I have a disability, but because just like every other student, I am unique. I can share a lot of things with you, and I can also update you about CARES. I want to thank all of you for inviting me and Buster to come here this evening. Well, maybe you didn't actually invite Buster, but he appreciates being allowed here too.
Well done. How long have you had an iPad?
I have an iPad for a while, but I've only been using an iPad to communicate since February 2013.
Thank you.
Jordan, it looks to me like from your presentation and the pictures that I saw that you are a natural leader. And I am so glad you have the opportunity to serve kids. And I want to talk to you afterwards about working with my son Jimmy over the summer if you're available. Can we talk later?
So Jordan, one of the things I've noticed about like your videos and our limited interaction is you're very good with kids, with other kids. And so I was just curious, do you have brothers and sisters at home? And are they younger or older?
I have a brother, Andrew, who is 23.
And that's it? Okay. Anybody else?
Hello, Jordan. Prior to having the iPad, how did you rely on a form of communication? And secondly, will you ever have speech? Is there a developing therapy for this, or you must have worked so hard to be able to do what you do.
I can communicate, as I said, but it is very hard for me, and I can express myself much better when I'm using my iPad. Before my iPad, I always did talk, but I could just never express what I really wanted to say. So, for example, in school, I would sit and listen to my teachers just talk about, and I guess they didn't realize that I understood every single thing they were saying about me and my family, but now I could repeat it all back. I could say when, where, and who. I could probably say the time too if I needed to.
I just have a quick follow-up. So, have you looked at going to colleges yet? And if so, which ones? Very nice.
Yes. I'm looking at the Mercyhurst summer program right now because they have a summer camp.
Very nice. All right. Thank you so much. And, oh, somebody else, I'm sorry.
As a future teacher, I'm going to be student teaching next semester, and also as a young man on the autism spectrum, how can myself and all of the teachers here, not just in this room, but in the Mentor School Board, and hopefully school boards all over Ohio and possibly even the U.S., work to help our students with special needs and learning differences that they've learned, and that they can achieve their full potential and their dreams.
Just accept them for who they are. Don't try to fix your students. They aren't broken. They are simply different.
Thank you. Dear Apple, your best commercial just walked off our stage. At this point, we get to recognize one of our favorite groups in Mentor Schools. We get to recognize our Sparkle cheerleaders. Mrs. Ambrose, our advisor, and Ms. Miller will do the presentation. We'll have them come on out now. And as they're getting ready, one of the neatest things that we did this school year was the Sparkles got to perform for the Ohio School Boards Association in Columbus this past fall, and they were a big hit in Columbus. And we are looking forward to presenting April 20, somebody help me out here, the 27th, thank you. April 27th for the National School Board Association when they visit Mentor at the end of the month. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wade.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Miller, Mr. Wilson, it is my pleasure to recognize the Sparkle cheerleaders tonight with their coach, Heather Ambrose, and the Sparkle Friends, excuse me. The Sparkle cheerleaders represent what is great about Mentor High School. They're just an example of the ability for all of our students to achieve and represent us in a fashion that we completely respect and enjoy, and we appreciate all that they do for our students and representing themselves in our school and all the hard work. And there's many days I'm leaving and they're just starting their practice and getting ready to go. So, we appreciate everything they do. So I wanted to get up here and recognize them and the coaching staff and all the parents and all the support that they provide for our students and for our school. So it's our pleasure to recognize the Sparkle cheerleaders. So I'd like Ms. Ambrose to come up and speak about them.
Thank you, and I hope this helps to answer your question a little bit too. The Sparkles had an exciting year this year, cheering for their home football and basketball games. Some of the highlights of their season were riding on a fire truck in the homecoming parade, performing at the Mondays with Malta cheerleading competition, performing at the Ohio School Board Association convention, cheering in the Fox 8 Cool School video, and cheering at the Broadmoor versus Coaches game just recently. We are also looking forward to performing for the National School Board Association visitors and performing at the Captain's game in May. On behalf of the Sparkle coaches, Kelly McCloskey, Kim Cornacchio, and myself, it is my honor to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of the Sparkle cheerleaders. As you have heard, this group has participated in many events, and they have been great ambassadors for our school district locally and regionally. We celebrate every time we see their enthusiasm and their growth as they become more confident, social, and assertive individuals. We are thrilled that the team continues to grow and evolve. None of this would be possible without the help of our special group of Sparkle Friends. This group of students is to be commended. They have led the team since the beginning of the year and have formed lasting relationships with their peers with special needs. These students have put the needs of others in front of their own and made the weekly Sparkle practices and games a priority, often making personal sacrifices to honor their commitment. They are an integral part of our program and should be commended for their genuine affection and dedication to each member of the team. Thank you to the parents who supported the Sparkle and Sparkle Friends by bringing them to practice and coming to events. Your words of encouragement and willingness to assist the Sparkle Friends and coaches has been integral to the success of our team. Lastly, thank you to Mr. Miller of the board, Mr. Casella, Kristen Kirby, and Mr. Wade for your continued support of this program. Thanks to you, we have been able to create an experience that will be memorable for everyone touched by the Sparkle program. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Sparkles. Heather Blair, Jacob Cowie, Jimmy Dahlhausen, Elena Harabin,
Good job, guys.
Brittany Jenkins, Maddie Klimovich, Aurora Laverick, Rachel Lepresti. Elise McGaffick. Sarah O'Patrony. Marissa Patchinger. Monis Patchinger. Andrea Patrick. Notoria Penny. And Charlie Rupert. I want to introduce you to those special people I was talking about, the Sparkle Friends, who have been positive role models and friends to the kids on stage. So that would be Alyssa Adams, if you could step forward. Jennifer Blair. Come this way, Jennifer. There we go. Allie Brancato. Courtney Birkin. We want to thank Courtney. This is her senior year. We'll be sad to see you go. Sophia Cabellas. Kaylin Kars. Jessica Krotalik. Molly Horvath. Nicole Kerr. Alex Koss. Oh, there you go. Emma Laughinghouse. Lexi Mealy. Jesse Miller. Leah Seidkowski. Isabella Savillo. Bryn Cements. And Lauren Scalina. And I want to pull out the other coaches. Oh my goodness, well, we can't forget our one brave male soul that was willing to put himself out there for our cause, Kyle Carey. Thanks, Kyle. I did also, who else is down there? Who else is down there? Did I forget? Oh, Taylor Cavell, I'm sorry. This is an outdated roster, apparently. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, now is that everyone? Okay. I want to make sure I don't forget anyone because these people work so hard. But I did also want to thank two other very special people who are too shy usually to come out from behind the curtain. But they're the other coaches for the Sparkle cheerleaders, and they both volunteer all the hours they put in, which is a lot of time, and that's Kelly McCloskey and Kim Cornacchio. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ambrose, and to the Sparkles. Also, real quick, before we throw it back to Mr. Wade, I do think, too, that the Sparkles are going to be featured in Mentor Magazine coming up here in a couple weeks, this summer edition. Mr. Wade?
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Miller and Mr. Wilson, I'd ask that Victoria Rikachowski and Nicholas Clark please join me on stage, please. I think I said Victoria Rikachowski. Sorry, Victoria. As I read it and I said it, I knew it was wrong. I know better than that. You can get me later. These two students participated in the National Merit Scholarship Program in an academic competition for recognition and scholarship that began in 1955. High school students enter the National Merit Program by taking the preliminary SAT National Merit Qualifying Test, a test which serves as an initial screen for over 2 million entrants each year by meeting published program and entry participation requirements. Of the over the 2 million entrants, some 50,000 with the highest PSAT selection index scores qualify for recognition in National Merit Scholarship Program. We recognized in September Nicholas and Victoria for their accomplishments as semifinalists. We would like to recognize tonight that both of our semifinalists, Victoria and Nicholas, have been selected as 2 of the 15,000 National Merit finalists, and we'd like to congratulate them because this is quite an exceptional honor. So let's please give them a round of applause. Now, as finalists, they are able to potentially earn further scholarships for the colleges that they will be choosing here if they have not chose already. I won't put Victoria on the spot. She kind of just grimaced when I said that. So, Nicholas, do you know where you're going? They're still just undecided, so I'm sure if they get those National Merit Scholarships, that will help maybe ease that decision a little bit. So congratulations and best of luck, you two.
They may need assigned seats soon because this is 2 or 3 months this year.
They're up on stage almost as much as I am. I think it's because of them. They make me look good most of the time, as do all the students that we're here recognizing tonight. So it makes my job very easy. So I appreciate the ability to honor students as well. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Miller, Mr. Wilson, I would like to ask Vishnu Nastala to join me on stage. Vishnu, if you come up, please. As Vishnu comes up, I would like to say we are proud to recognize 11th grader Vishnu for being a state alternate for the American Legion Americanism test. This test was taken in November during Veterans Day week. This was a national test administered locally by the American Legion Post 352. The post administers the test to all 3 high schools in Mentor High School, Mentor Christian, and Lake Catholic, to sophomores through seniors. The high-scoring male and female in each school from each of the 3 grades are identified. After the winners of each school are identified, they compare those scores to the other 2 high schools. The high male and female sophomore through junior are identified for the city of Mentor. Those are then known as Legion Post winners, school winners, city winners, and then the post winners are compared to the scores of other Lake County city post winners. There are 9 other posts in Lake County that Vishnu competed against. The winners there were then determined to be county winners, which went on to the district level, composed of 5 districts in Northeast Ohio, made up of Lake, Geauga, Ashtabula, Mahoning, and Trumbull. Those winners, which Vishnu was one of, become the district winners from over 130 schools. Then goes the state level. So if you're keeping track, that's almost 2,990 schools that have participated at this point. Vishnu can work out the math for me later, but I think I did it right because I used the calculator. And the state picks the top 3 boys and female students as state winners. There are 3 junior males and females and 3 senior males and females selected as the top winners based on numerical answers in the essay, and 1 alternate was selected on his score in essay. Vishnu was selected as the alternate this year, and we were very proud of Vishnu's accomplishment. And each year Vishnu takes this test, he goes up. So not to put any pressure on you, Vishnu, there's only one spot left to go, and that would be to be me recognizing you as the top 3 students next year as a state winner. So I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I know you put more pressure on yourself than I ever would. So congratulations and best of luck.
Well done. Since I first met you.
At this time, we'd like to recognize our outstanding athletes at Mentor High School. First up is our swim team state qualifiers. Presenting the certificates are Mr. Way, Mr. Casella, and Ms. Miller.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Miller and Mr. Wilson, it's my pleasure to introduce to you members of the swimming and diving team who qualified for this year's state tournament. This year's swimming and diving team produced several district qualifiers, probably one of the more successful seasons we had at the district level in a long time, and overall had a very successful season. I'd ask if Coach Kelly and Coach Lauren Kayemi are with us tonight, if you'd join me here up on stage. Coach Kelly couldn't make it tonight. We had 2 athletes who qualified for the state meet. The first one is senior Maria Coy. Maria, if you join us here. Just stand here, just stand here. Maria currently holds several school records here at Mentor High, and if you go out to the record boards in the cafeteria, you'll see her name several times. And this year she qualified at the state meet in the 200 intermediate. So congratulations, Maria. Great job. The other member of our swimming and diving team that qualified for the state is senior diver Adam Dellariva. Adam also has his name on the record board out there and holds the male diving records here at Mentor High currently. A first-time state qualifier this year, so congratulations to Adam. Great job. This winter season, we had a fantastic winter. In addition to our swimming and diving team, we also had a couple other state qualifiers that it's my pleasure to recognize. At this point, I'd like to recognize the coaches and members of our state qualifying gymnastics team. This year's gymnastics team was Northeast Ohio Conference champions, they were sectional champions, district runner-up, and this year they were the 2015 state runner-up for the 2nd year in a row. They have represented Mentor High in a positive fashion all season, and their skills and talents are amazing. So at this time, I'd ask head gymnastics coach Megan Mertz to join me here on stage. And girls, as I call your name, if you'd come up and line up here in front of the board after you accept your certificate. Members of this year's gymnastics team, Jordan Beebe, Melissa Brozier, Catherine Fisk, Dorian Lieback, no, shake the boards here. Amanda Latta, Madeline Marshall, Rachel Molnar, Natalie Padone, Natalie Rossi, Alyssa Stromberg. Alyssa Taglieri. And Olivia Wilson.
Good job.
Congratulations, great season. Congratulations, great season.
We look forward to another great season, and we're going to get the gold next year, right, Coach? We are fortunate to be one of the, well, probably the only school in the state of Ohio this winter that had 2 state runner-up teams. The second of those is our girls bowling team. This year's girls bowling team won several tournaments, as accessed by the trophies that are in my office. And they won several tournaments along the way to becoming Northeast Ohio Conference co-champions. They were sectional champions, district runner-up, and as I said, for the first time in school history, the 2015 state runner-up in girls bowling. They were an enthusiastic bunch and a pleasure to watch all year, and I highly suggest that you get to one of our bowling competitions and watch them in action. They're a lot of fun to be around. So if I could have our head coach, Mike Phillips, join me here on stage. And members of our girls bowling team this year, Amy Fortuna. Caitlin Harrison. Jenna McGee. Katie Pekoski. Kayla Reeby. Rachel Strojan. Alexis Sullivan. And Krista Vihar.
Congratulations, great season. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And how was your average?
Another fantastic season by our girls bowling team. It is also with great pride that I introduce you to a member of our boys bowling team who qualified for the state tournament. The boys team qualified out of the sectional tournament for the district tournament as a team. Although the team fell short of making it to Columbus, Kyle Fishley, if you join me up on stage here, Kyle. Kyle qualified out of the district for the state tournament. Kyle competed at the state tournament as an individual and represented the Cardinals in a first-class manner. I know we'll see Kyle, if not the whole team, back in Columbus next season. Congratulations, Kyle.
Congratulations, great season.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
And one last team to introduce. It is my pleasure to introduce you to members of our wrestling team that qualified for this year's state tournament. Our wrestling team had a fine season this year and was topped off by winning the sectional championship here at the end of the year. 2 of our wrestlers qualified out of the Mentor District tournament onto the state tournament. Our wrestling team is led by head coach Ray Lamana. If Ray would join us up here on stage, please. Our first state qualifier is Kyle Henning. Kyle finished 3rd here at the Mentor District and qualified on to states as an individual. Our second state qualifier is Peter Kunka. Pete finished 5th here at districts, qualifying him for the state tournament. It was a great season for both of these young men. Pete is a senior who'll be graduating, but I know Kyle will be ready to head back to Columbus next season, so I wish both of them the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casella. Great stuff tonight.
Well, at this time, we'll take a break because I know all the students want to go home and study and the teachers want to continue to prepare for tomorrow morning. So we'll take a 3-minute break. Chop, chop.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to present Mr. Mike Lynch, who will give us an update on our Straight A Grant Initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Miller, I once again want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about the Straight A Grant. I am going to give an update here on the progress that we have made over the last month. And to do that tonight, I'd like to use a program called Nearpod. If you have your iPads with you, or even if you have your phones, you can get to this by just going to www.nearpod.com. So if you have those handy, board members, we did drop a little link on your one of your opening pages there. So if you find Nearpod, go to nearpod.com. I'd invite everybody in the audience, Ms. Burnett, Ms. Watson, Ms. Bonas, Ms. Blackburn, Ms. Kinsey, to also join us. I'll call y'all out individually since I can now. So we are, this is a great program that our teachers have already begun using at the high school. We were actually, a number of us were down at IdeaStream today and watching Ms. Rodiger, one of our chemistry teachers here at the high school, and she was using this program in a demonstration today. So I'd like to show you some of the features while giving you the board update. So once you are in nearpod.com, you're going to hit join session, and the session is up on the front screen. It's C-S-E-A-D-C. CDC. And I will start seeing that right now we have 7 people joined in. We're going to wait till we get up to 8 or 9 here, or 10. 8, a couple more here. Getting a few more individuals in, and we're going to then start going through here. Up to 9, very good. And you can see that I can also be able to, I will be able to monitor those people. Once you are in, they're going to ask you to just identify yourself. So you can put any identifier. This is your opportunity to take on maybe a role that you don't want, someone else to know about if you want to make up a name or do something like that. But remember, it is public, so.
Do we want to identify ourselves?
You can.
You're not going to embarrass us?
I will not do that, Ms. Preiner. I would not embarrass you.
Thank you,
No,
Mr. Lynch.
of course not. So on that welcome to the session, you're going to put in your name, and those will start popping in. And you'll also see up here that we even have some people. Ms. Rodiger is actually joining us, and oh my, she's not even here. So she is actually at home and participating in this session. I'm also hoping that Ms. Farrell will be joining us as well. She's at home, and she can participate in the session as well. This can also be done in the classroom with students. Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your help.
I don't know if I help.
All right, we have a few more people logging in here.
My name's not up there.
Yeah, you already did it. That's why it says thank you.
Yeah, but it's not on the phone.
It won't. Would you sign in as?
I can't think. It's a secret.
We have a couple of students without names. All right, so I did this 2 ways. So on the right-hand screen, if you were not successful logging in, that's okay. You'll see what everybody sees on their device on the right-hand screen. On the left-hand screen, you're going to see what an instructor would see. So we are going to get rolling with tonight's update. And if you have it, you were able to successfully load it, you will see the presentation up on your screen. The nice piece that this does give a teacher is it gives the teacher the control of the devices. If the students have this presentation up, the teacher will be able to monitor the students who are participating. Right now, we are up to 15 people participating in this presentation. So let's start talking about Paradigm. As you hopefully drove up to the board office today, you will have seen significant changes since our last meeting in March. They didn't even really start steel back when we last met in March, and now they are almost completed with steel. They have just hopefully the remaining part of this week to finish up the steel. Where you are looking at this picture is standing from inside of the high school, and this is the walkway that will lead out from the high school to the hallway leading out to the high school part of Paradigm. The next slide is just giving you an overview of the sheer size of Paradigm, which we're going to have a little question about in a second. But taking a look at this picture, just showing you all of the steel that has been raised over the last month. They are going to be completing that steel at the end of this week, and also adding the decking, which is the start of the roof. And you should see most of that. That already has been started, but most of that will be completed over the next 2 weeks as well. They are also working, if you've seen the other close to the board office, they are working on digging the retention basin, which will be storing all of the excess water or runoff that we are required to have in that space. And this next image shows the curtain wall of the high school. All of the doors and windows have been removed. Those were removed over spring break. And they just today installed the framing for the windows, and those windows, they just talked to the contractor this afternoon. Those windows will be going in over the next week, and the doors there soon to follow. So that is actually where Paradigm will be connected up to the high school. So the first picture shows you I was standing right underneath that number 23 taking the picture. This is the opposite view in, looking into the high school. So here is your first question of the day, which is Nearpod allows you to get feedback from the students. So let's see, when we did a Kahoot last month, we did have this question, which is the square footage of Paradigm. So let's see how you guys do on the square footage of Paradigm.
Is this timed this month?
This is not timed, so you have it's a little more relaxed tonight. I mean, less people here and definitely a little more relaxed. So we can see, as you can see up on the teachers, you can see how I'm feeling very happy now as your presenter and your teacher in that everybody has the correct answer, which is 16,000 square foot. So you can see that it is all selected on that left-hand side screen. What you're seeing is what the students would see. On the left-hand side, you'll see what the teacher can see. As we move towards this path of blended learning, assessment and getting immediate feedback from our students is critical. Nearpod is a great program that can give us immediate feedback on everyone and how they are responding. So overall, we did a great job on that question.
And you can see that we are listening.
I appreciate that, Ms. Briner. I agree. I agree. Next, I want to provide an update on the hub. Over spring break, there was an additional room that was added to the hub called Team Studio. I'm going to show a 45-second clip here in a second of the week long that it took to raise that structure. We did a time-lapse video of that so we could share that at the board meeting tonight. The key thing about this Team Studio, as we looked at this space, the one thing that I feel that we do great here in Mentor is collaborate. Whether it's our board collaborating with each other, our board collaborating with Mr. Miller and administrators, our board and our administration working with teachers, teachers working with other teachers. Collaboration is so key to our success here in our school district. Unfortunately, I think a lot of times we end up having to have that collaboration behind closed doors because it's just the nature of some of those conversations. And so this room, Team Studio, was built to be able to model to our students what it means to collaborate and work effectively together, which as a district I think we do so well. So this room was created on the second floor of the hub, and I'm going to take you to the next slide, which is going to show you a 45-second display of it being raised over spring break. It took about 4 to 6 individuals each day from Ohio Desk who raised it. It is the first one of these rooms built in the state of Ohio. Team Studio using the via walls from Steelcase have not been used in any other setting in Ohio. They built ours first. They are now building the second one down at Ohio Desk starting this week. So that will be the second room like this in the state of Ohio. But we had the first one. And we were fortunate this past Monday as an administrative team. We christened it with our first team meeting there Monday morning and had a great experience meeting in there for close to 2.5 hours. So we look forward to being able to use that as not just administrators, but administrators working with teachers, teachers working with teachers, and PLCs. Even today, there was a teacher who signed it out and used it with their class. And so we see some great uses for this room and look forward to having it in that space. Moving on, I wanted to update you with regards to our classroom renovations. As you know, we are renovating 61 classrooms here at the high school. We have made great progress. 2 months ago, we set a very ambitious schedule of completing all 61 rooms by the end of June, and we are right on schedule, if not in front of schedule. Every 3 weeks, we are renovating 8 new classrooms. So at this point, we have 26 classrooms renovated. We just brought in furniture over spring break and moved 8 teachers back into their classrooms at the start of right after spring break this past Monday, yesterday. And so the classroom renovation projects are going very well and on time. Here is a look at a few of the classrooms highlighted here. Since Ms. Langolier is here, I would like to point out hers is probably one of my favorite rooms. Hers is the one in the right-hand corner, science classroom, and she managed to put 2 little soft seating areas in her classroom. But walking into her classroom feels completely comfortable. I think kids are excited to go in there to learn, and there's a couple of other examples of some seating arrangements from our classroom renovation project. One of the things in our classroom renovation project are these campfire tables. And what I'd like you to do right now is on one of the tables, and I was hoping, I don't know how it's showing up on your screen, the screen on the right, I'm not as impressed on how that came out, but you can write over the wood base of the table. But what I'd like for you to do is to write one word to describe some of the physical changes that you have seen at Mentor High School. I know the board has visited the hub and has been in some of the classrooms, as well as some of our audience members. So what I'd like for you to do is to pick out one word and write that one word on your table. And if you click on the left-hand side button, the tab down there, it'll come up, and you can then use it to write your word. Hank, if you can demonstrate that for us on the left-hand side of the screen there, Hank, that little, there you go. You can change the size of the pen as well, choose your color, and then use your finger on your iPad or use your mouse to write your word that demonstrates. Now, I'm going to share with you one person that's not even here, Miss Roediger, who's not in session, but she just shared with us that it was exciting. And so I can bring up anyone's responses and to be able to share those responses with you. So as you're submitting them, like Mr. Shore, fancy, I like that one, I like that one. So you can then quickly see the other person, the class's responses of how they are giving you feedback on that information. All right, we'll give you another minute here to try it out. Great tool to get information back from the students, though. Moving forward, I'd like to talk a little bit about our professional development. As I have mentioned in my past presentations, starting in January and going January, February, and March, and finishing up in May, we've been able to add 2-hour sessions for our high school staff. We have working with our high school coaches, our district coaches, as well as some teacher leaders. They have created 12 different sessions that our high school teachers can sign up for. These have been well received. Mr. Wade is currently even getting feedback from teachers right now and asking them if they would like to continue this route, and it's looking very favorably already for continuing this type of training moving forward into next year. We are also currently finalizing our plans for our May and June professional development, where every high school staff member will have 4 days of training to continue on the blended learning path. They will either attend in May, in June, or we have a few teachers who will then go over into September. So we are looking forward to this professional development opportunity with the staff. The next part, this Wordle is something that I shared with you way back in September during my first presentation. And on this Wordle, I took the 21-page masterpiece that Ms. Bonas and Ms. Watson created in the Straight A grant, and took all of those words and created a Wordle out of it. I just merely copied and pasted, and they pulled out all of the important words. What I'd like for you to do tonight is use your highlighter, which is right next to the pen on the bottom toolbar. If you click on that, I'd like for you to take your highlighter, and I'd like for you to choose 1 or 2 words. With having 9 months into this grant, what do you think are the most significant parts of the grant of where we are currently at? I'd like to see your feedback as well at this point. And I'd like to share one that's already come in, Ms. Langolier, who highlighted students and learning. And I don't think there's anyone that can argue with that. I think that that's a key for all of us, is making sure that our students are learning. And I think that's everything that we're trying to do, is to make sure that they are engaged and that they are learning. And so that is 2 great ones that Ms. Langolier shared. Fantastic, some great responses. And again, taking more time as a teacher, you can pull up, add to the discussion, and get immediate feedback where all kids are engaged in the process of learning. So that's a great tool to use within the Nearpod.
And Mr. Lynch, I think if you're a teacher and a kid goes off screen, doesn't it change the highlight of their name, so you know, the teacher would know who's not?
The teacher will know who is not participating. That is correct. Yep, so it's a great management tool as well for a teacher to be able to make sure that students are staying on topic. So I'd like to end with just talking about the month ahead, just to give you a few of the highlights. Just in the last week, we have ordered our first round of MacBook Airs for the high school, which were over 1,300 devices that will be arriving in our district at the end of this month, the first week in May. Our grant evaluators, June Ahn and Andrew McKetchin, are coming to visit in 2 weeks for their second trip in, and they're looking forward to getting an opportunity to meet and talk with many of our staff members and our students here at the high school. If you remember their last visit, unfortunately we had 2 snow days. We made great use of the time with them, but we're really hoping for no snow days at the end of April, start of May. We will have 16 more classrooms completed over the next 4 weeks, which would give us 42 of the 61 complete. We are going to be working on putting some plans together for renovations of Lecture Hall B and C, which was initially part of the grant. We were hoping as we moved through the grant that we would be able to make sure that we have enough funds to be able to complete both of those projects, and we do. So we are looking forward to putting those plans into action. And we are going to be finalizing our plans for the May-June PD session. The next agenda item on the board meeting tonight is the approval of the technology piece of the paradigm, and we hope to be able to do that same type of thing, to not have to hold another special meeting. So in the May meeting, we hope to come to you and look for approval for Lecture Hall B and C with regards to those renovation projects as well. So at this time, I will gladly take any questions regarding the Straight A grant, and again, appreciate the time that you've given me to talk about it.
Mr. Lynch, could you tell us a little bit about what the grant evaluators do?
Absolutely.
For?
Absolutely. That is a great question. So as part of this grant, one of the key reasons we believe that we received it is because we included the use of an outside evaluator. And so June Ahn from the University of Maryland and Andrew McKetchin from the University of North Carolina State University, sorry, their job, their task is to evaluate the success of the grant. And so we are looking now at looking at the factors that we want to measure. So for example, one of the big ones that we want to look at is student engagement. So we want to take a look at where our students are engaged. pre, all of our work with the grant, and then throughout and post. So that's going to be one factor, but that's just one factor. Their job is to look at a multitude of factors and bring those all together to see how successful we were with the implementation of this blended learning Pathways to Success grant.
Will they do some almost like focus groups with students or staff? Or
Absolutely.
combination?
So that was on the schedule for us to do in February to start off, and because we weren't able to make that happen, again, we had great use of that time, but as they come back and they're going to be here for Thursday and Friday, we're going to have them meeting with students, meeting with staff, getting an overall feel, and then seeing over the next 5 years how those things change based on the implementation of this grant.
So our commitment with them is how many years?
5 years. Our commitment with Dr. Junon and Dr. Andrew McKetchin is 5 years.
When they do their student contacts,
Mhm.
will they be randomly selected, a statistical cross-section, kind of, how do you choose?
Absolutely. And they are the ones who are organizing all that and giving us suggestions. One of the things that they came up with, which I think is a great idea, is they want to take one period of the day and just sit in the hub, and kids that are walking into the hub just talk with those students. And so we hope to be very random in that sense, and also a wide selection of meeting with, just like students and just like staff. I think there's a range of students or there's a range of their comfort level with what we are trying to implement. And we want them to see that full range so that we can take a look and make adjustments based on the reports. Each year, they're responsible for giving us a report at the end of each year on the progress that we are making.
When they're looking at our students over time, will they try to revisit some of the same kids, like maybe you're meeting with sophomores and then kind of following them through?
I am sure they will, and they're also going to be looking at post leaving Mentor High School as well, and their success leaving Mentor High School. So that's information that we're looking to obtain for them as well.
That sounds like a really good suggestion.
Mr. Lynch?
Yes.
Is our work in the hub complete, or do we still have projects yet there to do?
I would say that we're at about 95% complete. We have not finalized the punch list items with the contractor as of yet. We are very close. Over spring break, they finished things such as the landscaping in the courtyard area that needed to be fixed. They were waiting for the weather to break there, and a couple of other little items. And then the last piece of it is the audio video rooms that we are creating. That equipment is in. We just have some things that we need to coordinate to finish off those classrooms. Outside of that, so I would say 95 to 97% complete.
The cameras are in?
Cameras are in. They were installed right before break. They were hooked up during break. So cameras are in and operational.
We have 14.
14 cameras, 7 per floor, which will help.
Did you plan for a small percentage of the total grant to be kind of that cleanup fund details that you couldn't possibly anticipate until
Sure.
things were up and running?
Sure. As part of every project, when we looked at the hub, when we looked at Paradigm, each part of those has a certain dollar amount that we have set aside to anticipate or costs that we did not anticipate right up front. And so, but we have also set that aside an additional dollar amount to make sure that, of course, we're not doing anything with regards to the straight A grant towards the general fund or anything like that. So we have been very careful in our spending, but now we are at a point where we are comfortable, and that's why we are moving forward with the renovations of the lecture halls.
Was there, because the weather was just such a hard
It was
winter for all
the
of us.
coldest month, the coldest February recorded, yes. Great.
How did that impact our building schedule?
It definitely impacted it. It definitely put us a little bit behind schedule, but the contractor has worked to try to double up, working on weekends, trying to double up crews to try to get back onto schedule. They still are giving us a completion date of June 30th. I'm not completely confident in that June 30th date, but we're going to continue to work with them and stay up on that schedule to see what can be done.
And with all of that heavy construction equipment, is poor Mr. Wilson going to have to do some parking lot repair?
As part of the grant, the entire parking lot in the back all of that is part of the straight A grant.
Okay.
So all of that construction, or all of that parking area from the board office, back behind the board office with additional parking added for Paradigm, that is all part of the Paradigm, that construction budget.
That's excellent. Okay.
Any other questions?
Will there be money to go back and, I guess maybe that's her question, like fix some things that you hadn't anticipated that may still need to be corrected?
So as of right now, can you be maybe a little more specific? Do you have something in mind so I can make sure I answer? What's that?
The heat in the security
The heat in the security office. That is something. Do you want to take it?
Yeah, we implemented something that we had felt would be sufficient, that after installing it, and we need additional resources.
Okay.
So we are working on that.
Okay, that's fine, thank you. Excellent answer.
Any other questions? All right, great. Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Mr. President, members of the board, I'm recommending acceptance of the resolution of the technology project bid for the Professional Development Center. The successful bid was submitted by Gudenkauf Corporation.
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Olson?
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the board, I'm recommending approval of revised policy 6.15 on graduation diploma requirements and new policy 7.34 and career advising. Those are both first readings.
So moved.
Well, no action needed
Oh,
on the
no, I'm
first
sorry,
reading.
all right.
Thank you.
Did you miss it?
No, that was, yeah. I think that's part of the initial. Want to go back? Yep.
Okay.
I'll double check though. Mr. President, members of the board, I'm recommending approval of agenda item C1 related to certified personnel, C2.
Excuse me, Mr. Miller, we still have rejection of Fairfax Elementary Remodel Project.
Thank you. I thought we just did
And approval of
that.
the Internet Services Agreement.
Sorry, thank you. I'd like to make the recommendation to accept the resolution rejecting the Fairfax Elementary School window replacement bid from AM Dorn Supply Company in the amount of $121,185, which was almost 22% over the estimate. GPD Group submitted the opinion of probable cost at just under $100,000 at $99,600 and recommend rejection of this bid.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Wilson?
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd also like to make the recommendation to approve the internet service agreement with Northeast Ohio Network for our educational technology effective July 1 of 2015 through July 30th of 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Wilson?
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Sorry for going out of order. Mr. President, members of the board, I'm recommending approval of agenda item C1 related to certified personnel, C2 through C4.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Wilson?
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
Thank you. I have two additional items that are part of the agenda that we'll need separate votes on. The first one, the next one would be I'm recommending approval of agenda item D, related to human resource matters.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Wilson?
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
And the next one I'd like your approval on is section E, related to human resource matters as well.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll. Mr. Wilson?
Is that Jenny or Mary? Jenny. Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner,
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle.
Yes.
Ms. Blackburn. Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Wilson, I'd like to introduce Miss Erica Blackburn. She has been in the field of education for 17 years. You don't look that old. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration and a Bachelor of Education in Business Education from Bowling Green State University. She obtained a Master's of Ed in Curriculum and Instruction with a focus in technology from Cleveland State University. Ms. Blackburn later earned her administration license at Ursuline College. Ms. Blackburn began her teaching career at Mentor Schools in 1998, coming home, traveling between Ridge Middle and Mentor High School teaching business and computer classes. Her career continued at Lamouth Middle School as technology teacher. During her tenure at the Riverside Schools, she earned her National Board certification and presented at the state and national levels. Her most recent position has been and is currently at South High School, where she has been the assistant principal for 3 years. Erica believes that with hard work and persistence, we can support each student in reaching their fullest potential. Maintaining a positive environment is the key to success, as well as keeping the lines of communication open among staff, students, and parents. Erica is the proud mother of Alyssa and Nick, who attend Garfield Elementary. Having the opportunity to serve as the assistant principal at Ridge Middle School feels like returning home, so I present to you Erica Blackburn.
Mr. President, members of the board, Mr. Miller, and Mr. Wilson, I am delighted to continue my administrative career as the assistant principal at Ridge Middle School. Mentor Schools has played an important role throughout my life. I graduated from Mentor High in 1993, and I had the privilege to begin my teaching career as a traveling teacher at Mentor High and Ridge Middle School. I'm a member of the community, and both my children attend Garfield Elementary. I am honored and eager to return home to Mentor Schools and to work for such a distinguished district. Thank you.
Welcome home. Thank you very much. Welcome back.
Very happy for you. Congratulations, Erica. We are very excited, to say the least. That concludes my part of the agenda. I do have 2 items under business, if you'd like me to go ahead and continue with.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to ask under business the approval of the College Credit Plus Pathway Partnership Agreement with Lakeland Community College.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Ms. Jisling,
That was Mrs. Briner.
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Mrs. Briner,
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle.
Yes.
We all agree.
Sorry, that's
Thank you. Lastly, under business, I'd ask for your approval of the resolution to approve the full and final mutual release and settlement agreement with Christopher Parkinson.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Briner,
Yes.
Ms. Jisling,
Yes.
Ms. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, that's me. Just want to call to your attention a couple points of interest. The Ohio House recently passed House Bill 2 regarding community school accountability by a vote of 70 to 25. It's not over yet, so that's going to keep going forward. The Ohio Senate passed Senate Bill 3, which would provide mandate relief as well as reducing testing. The provisions included in the bill are as follows. Limits the cumulative amount of time spent on the administration of state assessments to 2%, beginning in year 2015-16. Limits the cumulative amount of time used for taking practice or diagnostic assessments used to prepare for state assessments to 1% of the school year beginning 2015-16. That's a continuing saga. I know I've reported on that before. So it keeps moving forward. We'll see if it goes. Teacher evaluations, changes there. Modifies the alternative framework for teacher evaluations beginning with 2015-16 school year by increasing to 50% the teacher performance measure, decreasing, it was 50%, decreasing the measurement to 35% of student academic growth measure. So stay tuned, it eventually will be settled, I hope. And that's it.
Mr. Tuttle, one breaking news update. House Republican Caucus introduced amendments today on the state budget bill. Mr. Miller forwarded me a more detailed report. We're waiting for the simulation we hope to receive tomorrow. It may have a negligible impact on us. The tangible personal property hold harmless provision still in, which is the most critical piece for us in a negative way. There was also a reduction in the annual cap increase from 10% to 7.5%, which would impact us in year 2. So we'll provide more updates later this week, but it's anticipated now the House will vote out and move to the Senate their budget bill by the end of this month.
Thank you, Dan. Didn't you mention when we were talking about that very subject, it's $1.6 million that
Correct.
we stand to lose
over the 2 years.
over
Yes.
the 2 years. Okay.
Yes.
So perhaps it won't be that bad.
We're hoping.
Boy, cross your fingers.
Stay
Okay.
tuned.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Mr.
Yes,
Wilson?
I apologize for not providing the financial statements in your packet on Friday. We were a little challenged to complete the statements and distribute them tonight. The good news is we continue to perform pretty much as expected. There's one significant variance in revenues, and that's due to a delay in the first half real estate tax settlements. It's normally received the last week of March, came in the first week of April, so that will self-correct for us. Spending year-to-date's tracking at 2.1% over last year's expenditure level at this point in time, very much on track with the overall budget. So we are asking that you approve the financial statements as we present them tonight.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
It's recommended that investment portfolio be ratified as presented in Exhibit 7-B.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Wilson, no major changes there?
What's that?
Mary.
No major changes there?
Unfortunately not. We are slowly giving up hope of an improving economy as it relates to investment yields. We did place one 3-year investment that will mature in June of 17 that for the first time gave us more than a 1% return. The weighted yield is 1.012%. Overall, we're still short weighted with most investments of less than 1 year. Year-to-date interest earnings are above what we had budgeted, but still far below historical norms. We are now at $162,000 year-to-date, fiscal year-to-date, compared to last year, $139,000. Before the last year before the Great Recession, we earned $2.5 million. So there's still one of the most dramatic negative impacts on our district.
Thank you.
And Mr. Wilson, could you summarize the excellent plan that Lorraine Fendy's put into place to recoup the tax receipts for outstanding property taxes?
Sure. At the invitation of our state treasurer, Ms. Jisling and I attended a briefing on selling old accumulated delinquencies on real estate properties, primarily on commercial properties. The sale was first introduced a couple months ago, and Mr. Miller and I were invited to attend a meeting on it. The update this time suggested the sale could occur by the end of May with proceeds received in July. The estimates are still based on September numbers last year, but predicts somewhere between $500,000 and $600,000 that delinquencies, some as old as 8 or 10 years, will be received by the school district following the sale. The legislation authorizes the sale at 100 cents on a dollar. That includes any current penalties and accumulated interest to date. So we are made whole on the amounts of money sold. I've been working with Mr. Miller on opportunities this one-time funds will give us. I think we want to be careful that we don't commit to new annual expense with monies that are a one-time collection of past due monies. So we're hopeful of that, and one byproduct of it is the treasurer indicated, and we saw a little bit of it that I reported in my first half real estate tax settlement report that I sent out Friday, is there were some old delinquencies collected as more media attention's being placed on this program, and some folks decided they wanted to clear their delinquencies rather than go into the sale. The private investor company's motivation for buying these when they have to pay 100 cents on a dollar is the legislation authorizes them to charge a higher interest rate than what the county treasurer is allowed to charge. And quite frankly, tying back to the question a moment ago, current market rates on investments for private individuals and private entities is extremely low, and there's a better return on investment. There's a risk, of course, that they won't be able to get collection. Their ultimate opportunity is a share sale at the end of some pre-described 2-year process to collect. But in the meantime, any collections that accumulate new interest will provide them a greater rate of return on than many other investment opportunities. So there's a preventative measure which hopefully will help us in years going forward, and this one-time opportunity when we receive proceeds in either July or August.
Thank you.
Well, Dan, it sounds an advantage to us to get this one-time money because it's been sitting out there 8 to 10 years. And that's the disappointing part, because as those taxes sat there uncollected, the county was required to balance budgets, and so they kept asking for more taxes. In the meantime, they weren't collecting those bad debts. And that's what's disconcerting to me, and that their failure to do their job to collect the taxes when they were due.
Yes.
I bet everyone here in this room pays your property taxes on time. If you don't, your mortgage company does it in your behalf from your payments. So they collect. But those that they don't collect, they have not chased those dollars too hard. Am I correct when I say that, Dan?
Yes, and I will share with you that there's a couple reasons for that. One is taxes have to be delinquent for an entire year after they're due and payable before they're certified delinquent, and that's what triggers that one-time posting in the newspaper that we see every year.
Right.
They have to go delinquent a second year before they can be referred to the county prosecutor's office to pursue collection. The county prosecutor's office is challenged by some staffing constraints on what to do. The business transaction end of it is that the county government receives about 5% of the proceeds from taxes, whether it's current collections or delinquent collections. That 5% goes into the county's general fund and supports all county operations, just not the prosecutor's office or the treasurer's office. So quite frankly, they lose money on aggressive collection of the taxes. So there's the system's not designed to cover their cost of collections, if you will. Once we get past that 2-year period, the hope is that the concern about a hit to goodwill for corporations or embarrassment to individuals if their name's in that list published in a newspaper is an incentive to pay. And then certainly once a tax is certified delinquent, there's a one-time 10% penalty. Every 6 months after that, the 2-year treasury note rate is assessed as an accumulating interest penalty to do it. We're fortunate in this county, even though it's not a legal requirement, but our county, the county recorder will not transfer a property's deed if there's any outstanding delinquencies. So it's that old thing, sooner or later, we're going to get our money. It's just how much later. At some point, if a property is going to be sold, the deed can't transfer to the purchaser without clearing those delinquencies. So part of it's a system design problem, part of it's a fiscal return on investment problem that challenges them to do it. We have encouraged, and a number of years ago, I did a special report to the Board of Education and identified the largest delinquencies in our school district. At that time, our former county treasurer was in office, and we shared that report with him and the county prosecutor and asked them if they could please put some extra effort into the 10 largest delinquencies in our district, and they were willing to do that. So it's about time for us to update that report now, and I think this new opportunity that's been legislated 2 years ago gives our current treasurer and current, same county prosecutor the opportunity to take a different approach to try to collect those. But at the end of the day, you're right, it's a fairness issue. 97% of the people pay their taxes as they're expected to, so the other 3% shouldn't get a free ride regardless of the circumstances. That it's only fair to all those that do pay their taxes that there's some efforts to collect.
I was also glad that for individuals with a homestead exemption, those kinds of circumstances, that they're not the ones that'll be targeted by this change. Those won't even go to.
Yes, residential properties are not included, and certainly anyone that qualifies for a homestead exemption, lower income senior citizen, also gets special consideration in this, both at the local county level, and they're excluded from the sale. So yes, there's some sensitivity to that.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Roll call. Roll call on the investments. Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
It's recommended that the interfund transfer listed in Exhibit 7C be approved.
So moved.
Second?
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
It's recommended that the appropriation modifications listed in Exhibit 7-D be approved.
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education approve the appropriation modifications listed in Exhibit 7-E.
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
It's recommended that the payment of invoices listed in Exhibit 7-F be approved.
So moved.
Second?
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Tuttle? It's recommended the Board of Education approve a resolution presented in Exhibit 7-G authorizing the treasurer to collect unclaimed funds.
So moved. Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
It's recommended the Board of Education authorize the board president, chief financial officer to enter into a property easement for 10-foot by 355-feet frontage in front of Brentmore Elementary to Aqua, Ohio for relocation of an underground water line.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.
That completes my items this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Do we have any unfinished business?
I just had a question about the Fairfax windows. Is that going to be resubmitted for bid or?
Yes,
they
we
can't
are.
find?
Yes.
Okey-doke.
New business, Mr. Wilson? Mr. Miller?
No.
Thank you. Hearing of the public? Hearing none, but we're going to go into executive session here.
Negotiations.
Negotiation discussion. So we won't be voting on anything when we come back.
What was that?
She asked if she could be there.
Need a motion and
What do you
second,
think?
please.
Do we need a motion, please? Motion, second?
So moved. Second.
Okay.
Yep.
Please call the roll, Mr. Wilson.
Mrs. Briner?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Jisling?
Yes.
Mr. Tuttle?
Yes.